Shalom. Mic check. Mic check. Check. All right, come. We're good. Let's get right into it. Um, as always, I'm gonna start off giving honor and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, HAQADASH. Double honors to our apostles and our elders, a great millstone who rule well, who teach well in sound doctrine, strong shalom to the hopeful elect, and the rest of the large multiple men, women, and children that scattered abroad. May the Most High have mercy on you these last days, and your houses be blessed always. All right, brother Kadash coming back with this with another lesson through the Spirit and power. YAHAWASHI, Lord willing, is edifying. This is Paul's second missionary journey. All right, we just did the first one. Lord willing was edifying, and we're gonna do the second one. So this time we're gonna be in Acts 15. All right, Acts chapter 15. All right, so now you have Paul's second journey, which again starts in Antioch. All right, as you can see here on the screen, it starts in Antioch. So we're going to start in Acts 15, and we're going to start at verse. Let's start at 1, then we're going to jump down. It says, "And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, Except you be circumcised after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved." So, uh, let's read verse 2. "And when therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissensions and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain of them should go to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question." So it was stirred up the questions between, because you had some Pharisees that believed and some that didn't, and the ones that believed have basically had a council to determine that the Gentiles that are now converting to the truth and realizing who they are nationality wise, that they were pushing the manner of Moses, like it says in verse 1, where they said that they will have to be circumcised in order to be saved. But you're going to find out that as the council goes on, they came to the conclusion that you don't have to be circumcised, okay, because you push the faith of YAHWASHI, you push the faith of YAHWASHI, okay, which they actually came to the agreement that the Israelites coming in don't actually have to be circumcised. But you're going to find out as time goes on, when Paul started dealing with Timothy, he actually did circumcise Timothy, because that's actually what you're supposed to do. But the council had came to the conclusion that you don't actually have to be circumcised, in which they came to an agreement on for these Gentile mind Israelites that were coming into the fold. You know what I'm saying? So just as a summary, let's jump down to verse 5. It says, "But there arose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that this was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter." Right, like I just said. So let's jump down to 11. "But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Yahushua Mashiach we shall be saved, even as they." So right. So because the faith and the belief, okay, which ultimately is the circumcision of the mind, which is the heart, okay, which is why Israel is able to get saved still, or even as the ones that's physically circumcised, because it's more spiritual now. All right. So from there, let's jump down like 35. "Paul also and Barnabas continue in Antioch." Right. So you see Antioch right there is the start. teaching and preaching the word of Yahawashi Mashiach with many others also. Second, it says in 36, and some days after Paul said unto Barnabas, let us go again and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of the Lord and see how they do. So now they started to go back to the cities that they had went to in the first missionary, plus some other ones, okay, just to see how, you know, their fruit was prospering, okay, the fruit of their labor. So it says, and Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. So what happened in the first missionary, I forgot to mention, but right, John, whose surname was Mark, John, they left, okay, he didn't complete the mission. So it says in 38, but Paul thought not good to take him with him. Why did Paul think this? Because he was like, this, basically, long story short, this nigga's not reliable, man. We can't trust him. All right, because he didn't finish the first mission. But Paul thought not good to take him with them who departed from them from Pamphylia. Right, because when they was in Pamphylia, he left them and went not with them to the work. And you can, all these chapters we're going through, you can read on your own. But like I said, I forgot to mention in the first part, but hey, John left. So Paul is telling Barnabas, like, hey, man, I don't think it's wise to bring him, man, because he going to bounce on this again, and went not with them to the work, right? It says 39, and the contention was so sharp, so they was going back and forth between them, that they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark, you see, so Barnabas took Mark and sailed into Cyprus. So, yeah, so here you go to the map. Cyprus is down here. Remember the first journey, right, that we just covered. So he went that way, right, towards Salamis and Paphos, and Paul went the other way, okay. And it says, and Paul chose Silas and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the grace of Yahawah, Basham Yahushai, and went through Syria and Sicilia, Salakia, and I said Sicilia, Cilicia, confirming the churches. So he went upward. Okay, so that's what this second mission map consists of. So here's Antioch, right? The star. Hopefully the cursor shows up, and then you see the little squirrel into Cilicia. Okay. Okay. So from there, let's go to the next chapter. So that was the first. Okay, that was the start. So the first one was Cilicia. All right, and then you're gonna find the second one to be Lystra. It says, then came he to Derbe and Lystra. So from there he went to Derbe and Lystra, as you see on the map. All right. And behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, okay, which is Timothy, which, like I said in the first part, this is where Timothy was born, okay. Um, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess and believed, but his father was a Greek, right? He was an Israelite, not an actual Greek, okay, which is why his name is Timotheus, because that was a Greek way to say Timothy. But that's another lesson for another day. I'm just trying to breeze through this. Acts 16:2, which was well reported by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium. So right, so then from Lystra and Derbe, they went to Iconium. Him would Paul have to go forward with him, and took and circumcised him because of the Jews which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek. Right, and see, this is what I was mentioning earlier, that when they were arguing, I mean not arguing, when the council was brought forth, you had Pharisees that believed on what was going on, okay, which is why they were saying, well, in order to be saved, he had to get circumcised, right? Because they were pushing a law. But then they came to an agreement that, they don't have to actually be circumcised physically. Because remember, it's all about the mind, being circumcised by the mind. So then, therefore, they said, they don't have to go about that way. But then, what did Paul do? He still, because you actually do still have to be circumcised, but it's more spiritual now. So Paul still went ahead and circumcised Timothy, okay, just off, you know what I'm saying, just off GP, man. Uh, it says, verse 4, And as they went through the cities, they delivered them the decrees for to keep that were ordained of the apostles and elders which were at Jerusalem. It says, and so were the churches established in the faith and increased in number daily. Right, the fruits of their labor. Now, when they had gone throughout Phrygia, so uh, here you see. Well, hopefully you can see my cursor, man. But you see Phrygia right here. All right, so uh, from Iconium they went to Phrygia. All right, where you see on top of Galatia right there. Okay, then from Iconium to Phrygia, it says, let's continue. Matter of fact, let me just read it here in the book. It says, now when they had gone throughout Phrygia in the region, verse 6, of Galatia, and were forbidden of the Holy Spirit to preach the word in Asia. So, Paul got that zeal on him, man. He want to go all over the place, man. But the Lord said that the Spirit was placed on him not to head towards Asia. Okay. And it says after they were come to Mysia, which you see here at Mysia, all right, this is the next stop. Okay, this is the fifth stop. It says they essayed to go into Bithynia, right, which is in Pontus, right, which you see here at the top right hand corner, right. They wanted to go there. They wanted to go to the Pontus, but the Spirit suffered them not. You know what I'm saying? So the Spirit was guiding them exactly to where they needed to go. So boom, they didn't go there either. So it says, and they passing by Mysia, came down to Troas. I'm butchering these names, but Troas, all right, from there, right, which was the sixth stop. All right. And actually this is the place, as we're going to continue to read, this is the place. Well, I wasn't gonna read it, but we can read it. This is the place where Paul had a vision of the Macedonian man. All right, and we can read a little bit on that before I jump down. It says in verse 9, in a vision appeared to Paul in the night. There stood a man of Macedonia and prayed him, saying, "Come over into Macedonia and help us." And after he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavored to go into Macedonia, assuredly gathering that the Lord had called us for to preach the gospel to them. Therefore, losing from Troas, we came with a straight course to uh, Samothracia, okay, which was the next stop, okay, Samothracia, and the next day to Neapolis, right? So Neapolis, you got to go up there. I was trying to see if you could print this for me. But let me finish this real quick. Neapolis, okay. Now Neapolis, Neapolis. I didn't say Neapolis. Neapolis is how you say it. Neapolis, actually means new city. Okay, so so from there, from Samothracia, and the next day to Neapolis. Okay, from there they went to and from thence to Philippi. Okay, so they went to Philippi. Now Philippi is actually where Paul went to jail. Matter of fact, we could jump down um, to 16 because he was dealing with the damsel that was doing the sorcery. Okay, from there he was before that he was dealing with the lady Lydia, and then from there he was dealing with the sorcerer. And then he went because hold on, let's just read it. Let's read this. I wasn't skip it, but let's jump down to 16. And verse 16, and it came to pass as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with the spirit. Right, because verse 14 is the lady Lydia who believed. So it was three individuals who were converted into believers. Okay, but going to 16, and it came to pass as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with the spirit of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying, which means her the ones that was ruling over her, she would make them money by her divinations, right? And her soothsayings. The same follow Paul and us in Christ, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High Power, which show unto us the way of salvation. And this did she many days. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the Spirit, I command thee in the name of YAHAWASHI to come out of her. And he came out the same hour. So Paul rebuked the Spirit, all right, and the Spirit came out. Uh, the Spirit came out of the woman using divination. So by this, it stirred up her masters. They got mad because now she's not able to make them any more money. 19, and when her masters saw that the hope of their gains was gone, you see, now they're not able to continue in their money, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers. So then they handed them over and brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men, being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city, and teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. And by saying that, they didn't know that Paul was an actual Roman. You see, because we're gonna read it later on in this chapter, in which why that's important. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. Right, so they started to whip their ass, man. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into the prison, charging the Layler to keep them safe, right? Safely. Jumping down to 25, and at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises to the Most High Power, YAHWASHI, and the prisoners heard them. It says, and suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. Right, and immediately all the doors were open, and everyone bands were loose. So this is another example on why Jake should not fear when Esau roll on us, man, because the Most High, even if they grab us and bind us and put us in chains and put us into these FEMA camps, it doesn't matter, because if we believe and have faith and we continue to do the work, and we don't have to feel like we, what I'm saying, um, like we're not in a position to receive salvation, okay, we should be able to pray and really pray in the spirit, where the Most High he shake the earth and our bands get loosed. He make us invisible when our enemy try to roll on us. Whatever. This is the type of faith and this is a type of belief we need to have in these times. Okay, what you can take from this mission. So as they were in jail, they prayed. And the keeper of the prison, awaking out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. Right? He thought they left. But then you can continue to read. It says that Paul told him, "Here we are," and then he was so amazed at what happened, jumped down to 30 and brought them out and said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" And they said, "Believe on the Lord Yahweh Shah, and thou shalt be saved in thy house." Right. Let's jump down to 36. And the keeper of the prison told this saying to Paul, the magistrates have sent to let you go. Now, therefore, depart and go in peace. Right. So now they said, no, man, y'all can go. But then Paul was like, hold on, bro. You know what I'm saying? He said to them, they have beaten us openly. Right. Y'all didn't beat us and did all this to us. You know what I'm saying? Uncondemned being Romans, right? But you find out I'm a Roman, you know what I'm saying? Now you just gonna let us go? Nah, bruh. Something gotta give. He says they have beaten us openly and condemned being Romans and have cast us into prison. And now do they thrust us out privately? Nay, verily, but let them come themselves and fetch us out. He said, nah, y'all come yourselves and fetch us out. You see? You're gonna try to send us out privately. No, man, y'all did all this to us, man. No, you come. It says, and the sergeants told these words unto the magistrates, and they feared when they heard that they were Romans. Right. So so Paul was about his business, man. Let's keep going though for the sake of time. Jumping down to 17. Like I said, you can read this history on your own. Now when they had passed through now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Philippus, all right. So from there, from Philippi, they went to Amphipolis, damn, Amphilopit, Amphipolis. They from there they went to Thessalonica. They came to Thessalonica or Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. Jumping down to 10, and the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea. So there, from Thessalonica or Thessalonica, they went to Berea. Okay, what you see here, uh, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. It says, verse 15, and they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens, and receiving a commandment unto Silas and Timotheus for to come to him with all speed, they departed. Now when Paul waited for them in Athens, his spirit right. So then uh uh from Berea he went to Athens. All right. Now this is uh in Athens is actually where Paul was cursing out the people dealing with the unknown God. Okay, it says, now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred up in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Um, right, and you what's it called? Verse 19, Areopagus, Areopagus, right? This is where on Mars Hills, this is where they would go and they would discuss the gods, and they would discuss different things that they worship and whatever they came up with. You know what I'm saying? That's where Paul went, and this is where they were discussing these different gods that they served. You know what I'm saying? That's why they said in verse 19, they took him and brought him into Areopagus, saying, "May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest." You see, so and that's going into the new unknown God, right? That's another lesson. Let's jump down. Let's go to the next chapter, in chapter 18. Right, I didn't want this to be that long. Chapter 18. Let's go to chapter 18, verse 1. It says, after these things, uh, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth. Right. So from Athens he went into Corinth, okay, which is damn, I was about to say um um oh, it's like it where he went from Athens to Corinth, and this is where you get First Corinthians, Second Corinthians. This is where he also set up a church. Okay, this is why you got First Corinthians and Second Corinthians is were letters written to the church in Corinth. Okay, now uh verse 2, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately came lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had recommended all Jews to depart from Rome and came unto them. Right. So this is where he met Aquila and Priscilla. All right. Let's jump down to 18 real quick. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while. It's like in 18. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and sailed thence into Syria. So, right. So, from Corinth, he went into sailed there into Syria with him, Priscilla and Aquila, having shrown his head in Centuria. So, right, from Corinth, they went into Centuria. All right. And then from Centuria, it says, for he had a vow. Right. So, Paul shaved his head bald. Okay. Um, uh, yeah, Paul shaved his head bald because he had a vow. So, there from there, and he did that in Centuria. And from Centuria, he went to Ephesus. It says, and he came to Ephesus, right? As you can see on his map, he went to Ephesus, right? Uh, and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem. Right. So the feast he was talking about was the Passover. All right. So from Ephesus, he went down into let's keep reading. But I will return again unto you if the Most High will. And he sailed from Ephesus, and when he had landed at Caesarea, so from Ephesus he went to Caesarea, which you have down here, right? See, this map goes from Caesarea to Antioch, but he actually went from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Okay, it says, and gone up and saluted the church and went down to Antioch. Right, but before he went to Antioch, he actually went to Jerusalem to keep the Passover, like he just said in 21. But bade them farewell, saying, I must all by means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you if the Most High will. He sailed from Ephesus, right? And so he kept the Passover, and then he went back up to Syria or Antioch, all right? So it says, and going up and saluted the church and went down to Antioch. So that's Paul's second missionary journey, man. Something quick through the spirit. Lord willing, that was edifying to the sheep, and the lambs, YAHAWASHI. Until next time, Shalom.